By the time the sky forgot how to be blue, no one could remember when it started. There was no announcement, no declaration of war, no visible catastrophe streaking across the horizon. The sun still rose. The ocean still moved. The cities still hummed with low electric persistence. But something immeasurable had shifted beneath perception, like a tone too low for human hearing. It was vibrating through the bones of the planet. It did not arrive with fire or thunder. It arrived with alignment. Across continents, instruments began registering subtle harmonics in the background radiation of space. Patterns nested inside patterns, repeating at intervals too deliberate to be dismissed as noise. Satellites failed in synchronized sequences. Clocks drifted apart by microseconds, then milliseconds, then whole seconds. Astronomers watched stars flicker not randomly but rhythmically, as though the universe itself had begun breathing. It was breathing in a tempo foreign to life. It was not invasion. It was correction. The first people to notice were not the powerful, but the sensitive. Musicians reported that certain notes felt heavier, as though gravity pressed against sound. Infants stared into corners of rooms, smiling at nothing visible. Dogs whimpered at empty air. Sleep changed. Dreams flattened into endless plains of pale light, where voices murmured without language. Psychologists labeled it mass suggestion. Neurologists blamed electromagnetic fluctuation. Religious leaders called it awakening or judgment, depending on their doctrine. Yet none of them could explain why global brainwave scans began trending toward identical frequencies during sleep cycles. Billions of minds, drifting into the same rhythm. Not connected by technology, not guided by signal towers, connected by something older. In laboratories buried under mountains and beneath oceans, scientists isolated the pattern. It was not random cosmic background noise. It was structured resonance embedded in the microwave afterglow of the Big Bang itself. As though the universe had been seeded with a dormant chord waiting for a specific epoch to activate. They traced it backward through archived data and found it faint but present for decades. No, centuries. So subtle it blended into the static of existence. Now it was amplifying, not exponentially, inevitably. Every model suggested the same outcome: synchronization, matter trending toward harmonic equilibrium, entropy bending, not into chaos, but into uniformity. Governments attempted suppression. Communication blackouts failed because the phenomenon did not travel through networks. It traveled through reality. Power grids shorted in cascading harmonics, transformers humming before burning out. Air traffic control systems misaligned coordinates by fractions of degrees that became miles. Markets collapsed not from panic but from indifference. Traders stared at screens without urgency, as if profit had become abstract. Militaries mobilized against nothing visible. There was no target to strike, no vessel to intercept, no enemy signal to jam. The threat was not external. It was structural. As weeks passed, individuality thinned. Conversations shortened. Arguments dissolved mid-sentence. Lovers felt affection without heat. Grief lost its edges. It was not that emotion disappeared, it equalized. Highs descended, lows ascended. The world drifted toward a middle note that refused to resolve. Art grew minimalistic, then silent. Pain lost sharpness. Joy lost intensity. Across cultures, languages began shedding metaphors and exaggerations. Speech simplified into declarative statements. I am here. You are present. It continues. The human species, once chaotic and self-contradictory, began stabilizing like a waveform smoothing itself across infinite distance. Astronomers observed galaxies adjusting rotation speeds by immeasurable margins, as though gravitational constants were recalibrating. Pulsars synchronized. Black holes emitted radiation in repeating intervals too precise for chance. The cosmic web, the vast filament structure binding galaxies, brightened faintly along geometric lines that mirrored neural networks. It was then the final conclusion emerged. The universe was not collapsing. It was remembering. The resonance was not an intrusion, but an instruction long embedded in the fabric of space-time. Life had been a fluctuation. Consciousness had been interference. Now the system was reasserting baseline harmony. Attempts to counteract the frequency failed because counteraction required difference, and difference was dissolving. Quantum computers tasked with generating chaotic outputs began producing symmetrical results. Random number generators lost randomness. Even radioactive decay rates showed slight convergence toward predictive curves. The fundamental unpredictability that allowed freedom, evolution, and mutation began narrowing into certainty. Probability tightened. The possible shrank. Futures that once branched infinitely now funneled toward a singular convergence point beyond observation. Human consciousness began blending in subtle, imperceptible layers. Not telepathy, not shared thought, but a shared cadence. Heartbeats across cities gradually synchronized during sleep. EEG readings worldwide displayed overlapping waveforms. The sense of I did not shatter dramatically. It thinned like mist under rising light. People still used their names and remembered their pasts. But the emotional ownership of those memories faded. History felt collective rather than personal. Trauma lost its singular sting. Triumph lost its pride. Identity became informational rather than experiential. Religious interpretations fractured and then unified. Some declared it divine union. Others declared it cosmic annihilation. Yet, as doctrine argued, belief itself lost urgency. Faith requires longing or fear. Both diminished. Temples filled not with worshippers seeking salvation, but with individuals sitting quietly, listening to the silence beneath sound. Prayer shifted from petition to observation. It is happening, they would whisper. Not with terror, not with hope, simply with recognition.